Hey, this is Todd Gongwer, and I wrote Lead, for God's sake. Remember, success is a choice. What choice are you going to make today? That's the big question. I can't recommend enough. If you're thinking about those choices and the importance of those choices, tune in to Jamy Bechler's podcast, and you're going to get some great stuff and help in those areas.
Providing insights to help you grow your business, improve yourself, and add value to those around you. You're listening to the Success is a Choice podcast, where you get a peek into the lives of industry leaders as they share their stories with you.
Welcome to Success is a Choice podcast. I'm your host, Jamy Bechler, and today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/success is a choice. They have over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. You can download a free audiobook from one of our previous guests, such as Todd Gongwer, Kelly Roach, Michael Burt, John Brubaker, Larry Wingett, Kevin Harrington, or Pat Williams. Now, on with today's show. Our guest today is Travis Daugherty. Travis is the author of a brand new book called The Lens, Raising a Champion Athlete and Man in Today's Myopic World. Travis is also a successful high school basketball coach in Indiana. He's also the assistant director of higher level camps, which seeks to raise up champion athletes and men. Now, let's join the interview that I had with Travis Daugherty. The podcast's name is Success is a Choice podcast. So I want to ask you, how have you defined and measured success throughout your career?
Well, that's a great question. I think the way I've defined success honestly has changed significantly over the course of my life and my career in sports. Growing up as an athlete, even as a young coach, I was probably too results driven. You know, I found myself and much of my worth in the score of a game or my own stat line or my team's win-loss record. And I think, honestly, that led to worrying a lot about, measuring up or comparing myself to others, validating that I was good enough. Dr. Carol Dweck wrote a great book, Mindset, that I read years ago and felt like it really sort of bullseyed who I was back then. In the book, she referred to my way of thinking as a fixed mindset. And as I've gotten older, I think I've become less consumed with the results and really learned to enjoy and embrace the process a little more. Not that I don't still really care about the results, but where I used to judge my performance in some area or compare myself to other people. Now I think I just try to look at every experience as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to improve. And I've worked hard to develop more of what Dr. Dweck in the book calls a growth mindset. I think I've learned for myself that focusing on the process is actually a lot more effective way to get the results that I've wanted. And it's a lot more fun too.
You mentioned that growing up, you may have been too results-oriented, but you grew up in the Hoosier State where they're no stranger to championships and success when it comes to the hardwood. It doesn't get much better than Indiana high school basketball. You were a state champion, an all-conference college basketball player, and now you're a successful high school coach. Share with us what it is like to grow up amidst all this Hoosier hysteria.
It is a lifestyle, probably bordering sometimes on a religion for some people. And certainly times have changed and things aren't quite the way they've been historically, but basketball has a special place in the hearts and minds and lives of Hoosiers. And whether you're talking about, the iconic movie by the same name, or the history of John Wooden and Bob Knight and other, legendary figures in our state, I feel truly blessed to have had such a great experience, not just in playing, but felt very lucky to have been able to coach in this great basketball state for as long as I have.
Your dad, Stan Daugherty, was a pretty popular and successful coach in the state of Indiana. What was it like growing up as the son of a coach? There's
really no one who's been more influential in my life than my dad. I am who I am today in so many ways because of him. And my dad's always been a coach. So as you said, I grew up, the prototypical son of a coach. I got to enjoy everything that came with being the son of a coach, growing up in a gym and riding a team bus and sitting on the bench for games. As a kid, it it really didn't get much better than that for me. And those experiences are probably a big reason why basketball has been such a big part of my life and why I became a coach myself. He's always been a great supporter of mine. My dad's really set the standard for being just a steady, consistent leader in his home and in our family. And he, along with my two grandfathers, really all have been such solid influences in my life, really helped me understand just how powerful, a legacy you can leave when you're committed and intentional about it. And it's been really fun here the last couple of years as my dad's career is winding down a little bit. He's wanted to step back from the burden of being a head coach. He's actually joined my staff as an assistant, and that's been just a really great experience. I don't know how much longer we'll have the chance to do that. So, just the whole thing kind of coming full circle, and for him to be a part of my program now has been a really, really fun experience for both of us.
You talk about the impact and legacy that your dad and grandfather had on your life. You now have written a book designed for parents, especially sports parents. What made you want to write this book, and how did the book come about?
Well, to be totally honest, there's a very selfish element to where the book started. As my boys started to get older, and I kind of found myself in this world of sports parenting, kind of on the other side for the first time. I'd always been a coach and had dealt with a lot of parents, and seen a lot of all there was in sports parenting, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I really found myself sort of in the midst of a world full of backwards, flawed perspectives. And I really wanted to do this thing right. I think, in my own life, I've seen the power of sports and the great opportunity that sports provide to teach some valuable lessons and instill some of the qualities that really lead to success in life beyond the game. So that was my motivation for writing the book. The book is called The Lens, Raising a Champion Athlete and Man in Today's Myopic World. And as you might guess, a book called The Lens is really about, seeing things clearly, about the perspective required to raise a champion, not just in sports, but in life too. And I think if for any of us, if our desire is to help someone reach their full potential as an athlete or as a person, then there's a lot that we're required to see clearly. We've got to see clearly the responsibility we have to intentionally prepare our kids for success. There's a lot our kids are going to need taught, and no one else can do that necessary work like we can. I think you need to see clearly a vision for who your kids can become and what it takes to get them from, where they are now to wherever it is that they're capable of going. And I also think you've got to see clearly the incredible opportunity, as I said already, that we have to use this great experience in sports to prepare them for real success in life. So, to be honest, as I looked around today's youth sports culture, it was evident that there were many people who weren't seeing things clearly. We were sort of inundated with this world of flawed perspectives where, in the youth sports culture, things that aren't really that important a lot of times get focused on and celebrated, and things that really should be very important a lot of the time, unfortunately, get overlooked or neglected. So that's kind of where that idea of a myopic perspective came from. I don't think there's a better word to illustrate, for any of us, the challenge of building and developing something great in this world than that word myopic. The book is focused on the challenge of building and developing kids into great athletes and people, but you really could just as likely be talking about building and developing a great team or a great business or a great marriage. The word myopic means short-sighted or narrow-minded. It means that we don't always have a clear idea of what the results of our actions will be. And if you have a myopic perspective, typically it means you can only see what's right in front of you. And I think that's a great way to describe sort of the world we live in today. It's a microwave society where things are quick and easy and convenient, and what we want, we expect we can get right away. We're sort of wired to be all about instant gratification. And we're conditioned to think that things that are quicker and easier and more convenient are better, and anything that doesn't come quickly or easily or make us feel good right now, we have a tendency to label as like flawed or obsolete. So the problem, of course, is that raising a champion isn't quick, it's not easy, and it's not convenient. And I think too many sports parents have fallen into this trap of making choices based on, what they see right now or what they want right now or what makes them feel good right now. But unfortunately, those choices actually end up keeping their kids from reaching their full potential later on. So, raising a champion requires a unique perspective. It requires that you see the big picture, that you trust in a long-term process of growth and development, and it requires that you enjoy the journey. So, ultimately, the book is a game plan for today's youth sports parent. It's designed to help parents make decisions that help their kids really become their very best. And that's what I hope it can provide for anyone who reads it.
We have a lot of parents listening to this show. What would be an example of what it looks like for a parent to have the proper lens or the proper perspective, as opposed to maybe a parent that doesn't have the right perspective on sports and parenting?
There really are just an endless number of examples that any of us who are doing this important work can find ourselves challenged by. I think maybe one of the easiest examples is, when our kids are faced with some sort of struggle or challenge or adversity or failure even, as a parent, sports provide really a great training ground, if you see that it's possible, for us to build and cultivate and develop a great response to challenge and failure and adversity. I mean, the reality for any of us is that, anything great that we're going to accomplish in life is going to require that we overcome some sort of adversity. And typically, I think a myopic sports parent perspective has created this sense of victimization in parents, that their son's being cheated or singled out, or that things are unfair because things are hard. And, for a parent, when a parent chooses to look at a challenging situation that way, then they probably help to instill a similar belief in their kids. And certainly when bigger and more important challenges or struggles come later in the life of our children, if we've spent their sports experience justifying the unfairness and looking for people to point a finger at or blame for what's hard or challenging, then we've probably encouraged our kids to adopt a similar perspective. And what I hope is that this book can provide an opportunity for every sports parent to recalibrate their perspective, to recognize that, ultimately we get to choose our response to any situation, especially one in sports. It's probably a smaller, simpler setback than what our kids may face later in life. So if we can use a difficult, challenging experience now to teach them some of the realities about what real life is like, that you're not always going to get what you want, that things aren't always fair, that our response to challenge or adversity is actually much more important than what it is that's happened to us, then we've probably prepared our kids not only to overcome that small, simple struggle in sports, but I think if we maintain that perspective enough, that we shape our children's perspective as they move out of sports and get into the real, meaningful experiences of life.
I love the book. I love the premise, the concept of it. Think it's definitely needed. With that being said, did you happen to send an advance copy to LeVar Ball by chance?
I didn't. I probably should have considered that.
Well, next time you're out in L.A. or Lithuania or wherever sons are playing and you happen to get on the elevator with them, are you ready to give LeVar Ball some parenting advice? Maybe what would you say to him on the way from the bottom floor up to his penthouse suite?
Oh, man, what would I say to LeVar Ball? Well, Obviously I don't know LeVar Ball personally. Based on what I do know, if I was with him for 60 seconds, he'd probably be the one talking for like 55 of those seconds. So I probably wouldn't have much time to say anything. I think LeVar Ball represents in a lot of ways what youth sports has become in recent years. I don't think LeVar Ball would probably be all that interested in my book because LeVar Ball's interest in his kids' athletic experience are different than my interest. I mean, I think the decisions that he makes with money and with attention in mind. And unfortunately, I think money especially has become one of the real driving forces in youth sports instead of, growing and developing people and using the game to build champion people for life. I think LeVar Ball has used his son's athletic experience to try and, make a lot of money or to make a name for himself or make himself a household name. And, that's up to him. Each one of us has to decide for ourselves what we choose to value and what we want to make important in this experience our kids are having in sports. Ultimately, I think time will tell for LeVar Ball. I mean, he's made himself newsworthy lately, but time will tell on his staying power and on the staying power of his whole act. The Lens book really stands in contrast, I think, to the way he's chosen to go about it. The Lens is about seeing the big picture, about raising kids who have as much success as possible on the athletic field, but who are also prepared to live the life of a champion beyond their days as an athlete. And people have staying power. I guess I don't mean so much like in the news or on the internet, but more that they're built to have success in the really important areas of their lives. Once their playing days are done, I'm talking about success as a husband or as a father or as an employee or as a friend. Is that LeVar Ball's purpose here? Is that, why his kids are playing the game and what he's doing, the reason why he's doing all that he's doing? It doesn't appear to be from where I am. So will his kids make a lot of money and will they be household names? If that's his interest and what he's after, then I think it's possible he may accomplish his goal. Is LeVar Ball preparing his boys to be good people, to live lives they're proud of, to be content with who they are and what they've done in life? I think time will tell. It will be interesting, no doubt about it. It will be interesting to see how it plays out from here for sure.
Well, ultimately, you're going to be a son, a husband, a father, an employer, a boss, a whole lot longer than you're going to be a college or professional athlete. So you're going to need those life skills. How are people going to handle adversity? How are these kids going to handle success?
There again, like recognizing, clarifying our perspective that sports is a great training ground. To me, it's the best opportunity we have to teach our kids some of these valuable lessons and instill in them some of these qualities, the skills and abilities, not only that are going to make them the best athletes they can be, giving their best and overcoming adversity and seeking improvement and being a teammate and getting coached and taking risks. All those things help an athlete reach their full potential in sports, but each one of those qualities carries over to the life that our children are going to be living someday very soon, probably sooner than we think when their athletic experience is done.
We'll get back to Travis Daugherty in just a moment. If you have kids that are on or will be on sports teams, then I strongly encourage you to check out his book, The Lens. It will help you be a better parent for that athlete in your life. I would also encourage you to get your son or daughter a copy of the Leadership Playbook, Become Your Team's Most Valuable Leader. This book is packed full of practical insights and stories to help student athletes understand what it means to be a better leader, regardless of their role, status, or ability. Please visit theleadershipplaybook.com to learn more about this impactful book. And now back to more insights from Coach Travis Daugherty. In addition to writing this book and coaching basketball, you also seek to have an impact on kids by helping run some camps yourself. You've been helping your dad, Stan Daugherty, run the higher level basketball camps for many years. Talk about what makes these camps so special, how your passion is played out with these camps, and where people can learn more about the camps.
My dad started a nonprofit father-son organization back in the mid-1990s called Higher Level Sports. It honestly, it's another great example of the influence my dad has had on my life and his desire to use the game of basketball, which is a great passion of his, and really other sports since Higher Level's inception, to develop stronger dads and stronger father-child relationships. We run weekend-long sports camps around different college campuses, mainly here in the Midwest, and we do some smaller one-day clinics that really are focused on, using the game to get dads and kids together and to create a meaningful, lasting sort of memory in their lives. And that experience has been a great blessing for me and really been another way for me to witness what strong fatherhood looks like from so many of the people who have come to our camps. And since the book, I've been able to incorporate some of the concepts from there into the work we're doing at Higher Level. We do some traveling and are willing to work with people in different parts of the country on setting up a weekend camp or working through a college campus. So anyone who's interested can go to the website. That's www.higherlevelsports.com. You can get in touch with us there, and we could work on putting something together.
Have the concepts in your book affected the way you coach or parent at all?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that I'm a different coach than I was early in my career, and I think my experiences in writing the book have just helped to clarify my perception of parents and the relationship that a coach and a parent should have. Early in my career, it was probably born more out of my own fear or insecurity, but I worked hard to distance myself from the parents of our players, mainly because I think I feared they were going to be a negative influence on the culture that I was working hard to build, and that they were going to be a distraction, and that I needed to create some space between all the great work that I was doing, and all that detrimental work that they were likely doing at home. But in recent years, especially as I've had kids of my own who are involved in sports, and as I've gotten to experience sports parenting on the other side, I think my perspective on that relationship has changed quite a bit. I really see myself now as a leader, not only of the players in my program, but of those parents too. Coach, I know you know that leadership really is all about influence, and I've always seen myself as an influencer of the players in my program. But I think in recent years, I've accepted that I've also got to be willing to use my influence to help teach and educate and work with my players' parents too, because there's no reason, if we're all after the same thing, if what we want is for each of the kids in our program, for our sons and daughters, or for the players that I coach, to reach their full potential as an athlete and to prepare themselves for success beyond the game, then that should be a joint work experience that we're in together. And that's really been a fun part of, I think, my growth as a coach, is coming to some new understandings of how I can help parents see clearly, what really matters and what doesn't, and how can we work together to really help each kid maximize their full potential.
Travis, you've been successful as a player and as a coach, including Coach of the Year awards, but you've probably experienced some challenges or struggles along the way. Do you have a favorite failure or a challenge you faced that has ultimately made you better?
Well, no doubt about it. There's been plenty of failure involved in this book process. And, I would say my favorite challenge or struggle has come through the process of writing this book. I mean, I felt this calling to write, and I thought this message was important and that it could be impactful for many people who are just missing out on an incredible opportunity in life through sports parenting. But there was something in me that really battled writing the book. I tried to convince myself, maybe I was too busy, or that it would be too big of a commitment, or that it might end up being this huge waste of time. But there was something inside me that just wouldn't leave me alone about it. And I've told people who've asked me about writing, a lot of people, do something because they can do it. That wasn't really the case for me here. I didn't write the book because I could do it. I really wrote it because over time I felt more and more like I couldn't not do it. You know, it was too important for me to ignore. And it was a huge challenge. I mean, as you know, Coach, from writing a book of your own, some days the writing process is just brutal. And there were plenty of times I considered, you know, walking away or wondered, what am I doing here? Or, you know, I fought that fear of how people were going to judge my work. But I think over time I came to realize that all those challenges, that adversity those weren't really reasons for me not to write the book. I came to realize they were actually all validation that this project was big and meaningful and important in my life. And when you're a writer, I found, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, there's, you know, a certain level of courage that's required when it comes to hitting that publish button. And, you know, so even though at times it's been a huge struggle, it's been a lot of fun. I've learned a ton about myself, just stepping out onto that limb, putting myself out there and saying, you know, I have something important to say, sharing this message and taking this dream or idea that really only existed in my head, and to see it play out in real life has been really, really fun.
Well, I've enjoyed the book and definitely recommend it highly. If you don't have a kid that plays sports anymore, then you can still get it as a gift for someone else that does have kids in sports. Coach, you're giving a lot to so many people, both as a father and as a coach, and even now as an author. What are you doing to recharge or fill up your tank as you grow and develop as a leader?
Well, for me, I think as a man of faith, you know, I know that continuing to build and strengthen my faith on a daily basis is an important part of me being the best I can be, for sure. So it starts there with me. Also, it's so simple and probably cliche, but it is so true, the old saying that leaders are readers. And I really try to make reading a priority in my life. That's pretty tough, you know, some days, especially now during the season, but I know it's also very important for my growth. And beyond that, I'd say just working to be intentional about maintaining a healthy balance in my life. You know, at this point in life, there are so many things pulling me around and calling for my attention, and it's easy to get caught up in the stresses and craziness of life. But I know for me personally that in order for me to be my best, it really starts for me at home. I've been just incredibly blessed to have a great supportive wife. I've got 3 amazing kids, and if I'm not doing a good job at home or meeting my responsibilities there, then honestly, I feel the effect of that in every other area of my life. So just trying to be where my feet are, you know, and when I'm at home to be fully present, to try to put my phone down more and, you know, look the important people in my life in the eye and invest in them and make sure that I'm doing my job there. I know myself well enough to know that makes me better in every other area of life too.
You mentioned that leaders are readers. What are some books that you're now reading or that you've recently read that may be of interest to our listeners?
You know, honestly, during the season, I've fallen into what for me has become a pretty productive cycle of reading. I like to really dig into new books once my season in coaching ends. And each season I try to come back to some of the meaningful books that really impact my perspective on coaching and the role I have as a coach. So, you know, right now, the 2 books that I'm reading right now are well worn. I'm continuing to wear out my copies of Inside Out Coaching by Joe Ehrman has been a real influential book in my life, and also Lead for God's Sake by Todd Gongwer is a fantastic book. Both great books for coaches and other people in leadership positions.
Those are 2 great books, and we'll be sure to put those in the show notes so people can check them out. And we actually just had Todd Gongwer on our last show, episode 62, so definitely encourage our listeners to check that episode out if you haven't already. I love reading, love buying some books, but other than books, has there been a purchase of $100 or less that has had a profound impact on your life?
Well, you know, honestly, I'm a pretty simple guy. I don't do a whole lot of shopping. I will say when you have a haircut like I have, and it's it's very similar to the haircut you've got, Coach. I'd say buying a great set of clippers makes all the difference. So if there's one purchase that really a life changer for me, I'd have to go with that one.
Yeah, I agree. I have saved a lot of money over the years cutting my own hair with my clippers. Is there a quote that you love to repeat? One that your players probably roll their eyes at when you say it, but they can quote it verbatim or probably use it when you're not around?
I'm a pretty big quote guy. I mean, I on the basketball court, I probably have stolen more John Woodenisms than any other coach, especially with this group I have right now. I've probably said the words "be quick, but don't hurry" so many times this year to them that they're hearing it in their sleep. I love the idea that failing to prepare is preparing to fail. I think that's so true in any area of life. As I've started writing this book, there are a couple of quotes from the book that really have stepped forward in my life that I think about a lot and have tried to really make an important part of my life. One is by Henry David Thoreau, an early American writer and philosopher. He said, "It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see." And I think that's so true. I really believe that the best at what they do in any area of life have a way of seeing things differently, a unique perspective. And I think that quote really highlights the power of our perspective. When you see things the right way, the opportunities in life really unfold before you. And the other one comes from the writer and speaker Frederick Douglass. He said, "It's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." And again, I think that's so true and a great reminder of what all of us as parents should be focused on, that each of us should be working hard to raise kids that don't have to recover from their childhood, that we're working to build and equip and prepare our kids for all that's coming in life. And I really, through this writing experience, I think I've come to the conviction that there's really no greater work that you can do than that hard work it takes to raise a champion. So those quotes for sure stand out to me as some of my favorite.
You also have a weekly newsletter that's great. How can people get connected with you or subscribe to this awesome newsletter or find out more about your book?
All the information about my book, including links to purchase the book through Amazon or Barnes & Noble, can be found on the website. That's www.thelensbook.com, all one word. I do write a free weekly newsletter that just provides a brief word of challenge and encouragement for anyone that's working to raise champion athletes and people. It arrives in your email inbox every Friday morning. If you're interested, you can sign up to receive that. And also check out some past newsletters at thelensbook.com/newsletter, or just follow the navigation there on the homepage. I am on Twitter at MV Coach D, Mount Vernon Coach D. MV Coach D, and The Lens is actually on social media on Twitter at _lens, LENS_book, and the same at on Instagram at _lens_book, and on Facebook _lens_book. So I'd love to connect with anyone who's got an interest in doing this work and just continuing to encourage and challenge one another in this critical responsibility we have.
I hope that you enjoyed those insights from Travis Daugherty. I was an assistant coach at Anderson University in Indiana when Travis played for us. He was one of the best, smartest, and most mature players I've ever had the privilege of being around, and it doesn't surprise me at all that he has written a book that is a must-read for every sport parent out there. Thank you for listening today. And if you are joining us for the first time, then welcome. We would love for you to catch all of our future episodes by taking just a quick second to hit that little subscribe button. Thanks again, and until next time, remember that success is a choice. What choice will you make today?